This recording is in the public domain. El Filibusterismo. Chapter 11. Summary. Los Baños. The Captain General is on a working vacation in Los Baños. With him are some friars, Don Custodio, Benzabe, and Simón. Among items settled is the prohibition of one sort of sport handgun to prevent robbers from acquiring more, a decision that came at the heels of Simón's having been held up and despoiled of his weapons. The Captain General also settles the Chani schoolmaster's petition for a better building by punishing him for complaining. The final topic for debate is the youth's request to create an academy for studying Spanish. Padre Cibola opposes it as he thinks it is a sort of rebellion, and a challenge to the status of the University of Santo Tomás. Padre Camora and Simón are against it also. Padre Fernandez believes it is a realistic request and believes the people's interests can finally no longer be denied. On his side are Padre Irene and Don Custodio. Meanwhile, Julie is in the premises to plead for the release of her grandfather, Tandang Celo. Padre Camora supports her petition and the Captain General relents. Chapter 12. Summary. Placido Penitent. Placido Penitente grudgingly walks to Santo Tomás University. Although he was previously regarded as a promising student in his province, he now desires to withdraw from school. Juanito Peláez, a wealthy student and teacher's darling who is indifferent to his classes, is with him. They arrive at the university's entrance, where other students are milling about, some of whom are witnessing the arrival of individuals at the adjacent church. Paulita Gomez is among those observed. She notices and smiles at Izagani. Doña Victorina, who is with Paulita, smiles at Juanito. On the way to class, Placido is stopped by a fellow student who wants him to sign a petition against the new Spanish Academy. As a result, he is tardy for the class roll call, the most crucial portion of the class. Placido decides to stay because it is almost time for exams and his teacher has not yet recognized him. As a result, he may fail the school year. Chapter 13. Summary. The class in physics. Padre Milian requires students to recite teachings from memory, rewarding those who make no errors with high grades. He calls on a pupil he observes yawning, who instantly launches into a lecture about the classification of mirrors from memory, but is confused when Padre Milian asks him analytical questions. Next, the professor asks his favorite student, Juanito, about the composition of mirrors. Juanito signals Placido for assistance, but Placido is unable to assist and is afterwards consulted by the professor. Placido is unable to respond, and when the professor asks him to recite, he makes errors, resulting in a poor grade. Padre Milian adds that Placido has had 15 absences, despite the fact that he has had fewer. Placido concludes that he could not have simultaneously recited and been absent. He is insulted by Padre Milian for philosophizing. Placido, infuriated, proclaims that he has had enough and rushes off. Padre Milian begins a sermon on the ungratefulness of youth and segues into the audacity of students asking the establishment of a Spanish teaching academy. Chapter 14. Summary. In the house of the students. The big mansion of Macaraig is bustling with student activity. Intermingled with the students are individuals engaged in boisterous horseplay. With the arrival of prominent pupils, including the optimist Izagani and the peninsular Sandoval, the din subsides. Sandoval believes that the authorization for the Spanish Academy will not be denied, as Spain shares the same sentiments as the Philippines and will not deny its citizens the same rights. Peksun, a more pessimistic student, believes that the Church may fear that an academy will help Filipinos understand each other, so endangering the state's integrity. He also believes that the academy undermines the prestige of the university. Macaraig arrives jubilantly and describes how Padre Irene supported their cause, saving their permit application from being denied. Padre Irene was successful in persuading Don Custodio to appoint a commission to render an opinion on the petition. Students generate suggestions for influencing Don Custodio. Izagani proposes to approach Don Custodio's attorney, Senator Pasta, in the hopes of persuading him. Chapter 15. Summary. Senator Pasta. Izagani pays a visit to Senator Pasta and updates him on the status of the student's petition. Senator Pasta feigns ignorance, but he is aware of the situation and knows that Padre Cibola was the one who offered the commission to buy time. Mr. Pasta does not wish to be involved in the student's cause and advises Izagani that the best way to assist the government is to allow it to make its own decisions. He says that it is insulting to attempt to do more than the government provides since it diminishes the government's prestige. Izagani refutes Senator Pasta's claims by asserting that justice and reason are greater foundations for colonial government than prestige. He adds that it is appropriate for citizens to request the blessing of their government in the manner of a child. Izagani is advised by Senator Pasta to focus on his education, marry a wealthy woman, perform his religious duties, and refrain from attempting to change the status of others and the nation. Izagani disregards his counsel. Chapter 16. Summary. The tribulations of a Chinese. The Chinese Quiroga, who seeks to establish a consulate for his country, arranges a dinner for influential church, government, military, and business leaders. Some businessmen protest to Simon about the difficulty of doing business in the country, with the hope that Simon will relay their suggestions to the Captain General. Quiroga also discusses his issues with Simon over a bribe he attempted to execute using Simon's jewelry, which resulted in a financial loss. Simon offers to lower Quiroga's debt in exchange for Quiroga temporarily storing certain firearms for him. Quiroga agrees. Some of the guests, including Don Custodio, Benzabe, Juanito Pérez, Simon, and Padre Salvi, Camora, and Irene, decide to visit the Quiapo Fair to view a head shown by Mr. Leeds. Chapter 17. Summary. The Quiapo Fair. Paulita Gomez is spotted at the fair, accompanied by Izagani and Doña Victorina, who cries out to her preferred suitor, Juanito Pérez. The gang from Quiroga's meal explores the market and stops at a kiosk selling figurines, the most of which are of priests. In contrast to the images of priests in Europe, who are depicted engaging in worldly pursuits or having fun, the figures on display are refined, holy, and calm. Chapter 18. Summary. Legerdemain. Benzabe searches the table in Mr. Leeds's room for mirrors, which he believes is the trick behind the show. Mr. Leeds shows a box holding some ashes and a piece of papyrus that he claims to have discovered when visiting the pyramid of Khufu. Upon pronouncing a word from the papyrus, the box displays a severed head. Leeds commands its story to be told by the head. The leader presents himself as Imathes, whose life was devastated once he returned from studying abroad and discovered the secret of Gaumata's fake rule. With the assistance of oppressive Egyptian priests, Gaumata orchestrates Imathes's demise through the young priest Abydos, who covets Imathes's beloved. Abydos unjustly implicated Imathes in a rebellion, which resulted in Imathes drowning in a lake while attempting to flee. Padre Salvi notices parallels between the story of Imathes and his own past events. He collapses in terror, begs for mercy, and proclaims that a woman is still alive. Chapter 19. Summary. The Fuse. Placido Penitente is outraged by his university experience. Returning to his leased room, he discovers his mother, Kabi Sangondang, visiting. His mother reminds him of their sacrifices and encourages him to be patient and humble as he recounts his experiences. Placido flees his mother and encounters Simon, with whom he tells his tale. Simon invites him along, and they proceed to the residence of a pyrotechnician. Placido overhears their conversation regarding bombs and an upcoming incident involving Kabi Sang Tales and his men, the postponement of which could result in Maria Clara's death. Later, Placido spends a few hours at Simon's house, from which he emerges with a reflective disposition. Later, he agrees to his mother's idea to attempt to appease the university's friars. Alone in his home, Simon is temporarily repulsed by his acts, but swiftly turns his back on his conscience. Chapter 20. Summary. The Arbiter. Don Custodio has been pondering the issue of the Spanish Academy for many days without a solution, desiring to satisfy both proponents and opponents. Who exactly is Don Custodio? After utilizing his wife's money to start a firm, he achieved some success, which led to numerous prestigious assignments. Once upon a time, he returned to Spain, where he obtained a variety of ideas, which he then executed in odd, ridiculed enterprises in the Philippines. Regarding his opinion of the indigenous population, he believes they are only suited for manual labor and imitational arts, and he rejects the notion that they are capable of distinction. Don Custodio is Catholic, but only because he believes it to be necessary among backwards people. In the Philippines, he considers the friars indispensable and superior colonial overlords. Because of this, the friars hold a favorable opinion of him. As he continues to ponder the academy topic, his eyes land on one of his School of Arts and Trades related project files. He had an epiphany and announces he has made a decision.